Welcome everyone, Simon here from the Whales of Wall Street. We have an IOTA video for you guys today. Quite interesting updates coming out from the team this week. A 2.0 of IOTA, the evolution of this absolutely fascinating foundation and technical ability of a network coming into fruition. Some big changes going on, guys, to help with this evolution. Some of it will be questionable for sure, as it always is, but the hard forking aspect of this is quite interesting. Let's go into this in a bit more detail. Before we do, don't forget to smash that subscribe button if you haven't done so already, and please do hit that like button as well. Try and educate the masses as much as possible. Thank you so much for the support as these numbers keep driving up. It's absolutely incredible. Thank you so much. Let's go into this one, guys. First and foremost, let's start off with this point. IOTA's foundation is also adding itself towards the Abu Dhabi area of the world, so the United Arab Emirates. This is very interesting. Of course, there's been loads of changes over the last couple of decades, perhaps a shift of interest moving from certain industries and sectors into the blockchain sphere. This is not much of a surprise, to be honest. I think IOTA has to expand in multitude of different markets and regions, but it's great to see that the United Arab Emirates region is taking on more interest in the blockchain Web3 space. And of course, IOTA being such a huge influential part in its technological advancements using things like direct acyclic graph and its tangle mechanism, for a better word, in the IOTA sphere. Doing great work at parliamentary level in terms of like the European Union, for example. And these things progressing out into different markets, as I said, is very exciting indeed. So keep an eye on this. I'll try and get a bit more information around this entering of this market and area. But yes, the investment is clear from the UAE region of blockchain, that's for sure. And it's great to see IOTA's name being heavily involved in that area in particular, for sure. The other quick points here, guys, I say quick. Some interesting developments. In the same day, a multitude of announcements came out from IOTA in relation to IOTA 2.0, the major upgrade within the Stardust system that has been formulating. Some interesting insight into what they're trying to achieve with layer 1 and layer 2 protocols as well, and also funding, as well as some tokenomics distribution changes and something interesting about the assembly token as well. So this is really interesting to have seen these 4 bits of news coming out. And I'm just going to raise a point here before everyone goes crazy about all these different momentous bits of information. Of course, everything evolves. And they made some really interesting points of reference to how other chains have done things, and IOTA's not necessarily done it in reverse or in a slightly different way, but they have been slightly different in the way that they've done things, the way they've been building things. And this point here, I'm going to do some bit of a different order just to explain this a bit more. So the assembly token was something that we all got free, essentially, from staking IOTA back in 2021, if you remember that far back. It's been sat in our wallet, it's not really doing anything. But there's mention here that, first of all, they're not going to develop assembly further at all anymore, and they're not going to release the token either. So this will be regurgitated back to us in the form of IOTA token airdrop. More information will be given to us as time goes by, for sure. But that point I'm raising as the first one is back to that point about evolution. And I feel like over the last few years, IOTA's been around since 2015, I believe. And things have evolved massively. I think more and more chains have got a deliverable focus more than ever before. Not so much this whole scattergun approach or, jack of all trades, master of none. And I don't suggest that IOTA was doing that. But I think from a focal perspective, it's very important that now is the time for chains to really define what they are about and what they're trying to achieve, and making maybe hard decisions in some areas, but decisions nonetheless of importance to ensure the future development and the future opportunity for them to still be around in 5 to 10 years time. There's going to be a lot of development, guys. There's going to be a lot of chains falling off the face of the earth. There's thousands upon thousands of crypto assets out there, utility wise, meme wise, whatever. And it's a really important time. So we have that in our minds. But what's really key for me, and utility is such a buzzword in the crypto space, it's used flippantly I feel that the DAG protocol, or the Tangle protocol of IOTA, the direct acyclic graph, is a formidable power. And there's other chains we've mentioned, like Hedera, for example. Constellation, of course, use DAG protocols as well. IOTA's got itself a bit ahead of the game in some areas, particularly, as I said, their involvement at EU parliamentary level with the European Blockchain Association, or these areas. The phase 2B is still ongoing right now, to become ultimately, potentially, the entire frameworked Tangle system for every kind of action or transferable action that could happen, whether it be an EV car, harvesting, drone deliveries, whatever. And it's really, really massive opportunity these next few years. So utility is important. And this top point from them, focusing on maximizing the utility and scalability and economic activity of the IOTA network, as with the IOTA token, of course. And Shimmer, of course, being positioned as a complementary staging network to validate and expedite the technical roadmap of IOTA. So Shimmer, by the way, guys, is still ongoing. Not like the assembly token where that's just been shafted. This one will go ahead for sure. So really defined areas and goals there. Third point here, the second point, which technically the third, the launch of the IOTA 2.0 will introduce programmability on the IOTA Layer 1 by integrating general purpose smart contracts. Interesting point here, because we mentioned in the previous video about the European Data Act going through right now, and there's a bit of hoo-ha going on about smart contracts, the definition of those, and what does the kill switch actually mean in terms of being able to turn things on and off, when that's the whole point of decentralization versus centralization. And it's really interesting that they're really powering home on that focus on smart contracts. Could something have been said in the background with all these advisories going back and forth between the parliaments and IOTA and the group of members that are there to really focus on this area? Could it have been that they were doing too many things and actually need to throw those away and start focusing on the things that were going to make this IOTA platform work significantly well and in a resourceful and efficient way? So it says here, this will maximize the utility of the IOTA token by increasing the demand for mana, and it will align layer 2 networks for IOTA layer 1 through shared security. And the fourth point here, introducing a new ecosystem fund that will help further decentralize the governance of IOTA and support ecosystem growth. Several community governance vehicles, committees, and entities will set up to empower the community to help manage the ecosystem fund. Very interesting. It sounds a bit like what Hedera have got, a bit of a consortium there. This ecosystem fund will be funded through a temporary token inflation that will last for 4 years and increase the total supply to 4.6 billion IOTA. Okay, so there's loads of different things going on here. Future-proofing IOTA in the Web3 sphere 2.0, and the architecture of what it's all been about. Bringing all these different sectors and opportunities together, and the interaction with other chains to formulate this incredible ecosystem and protocol that they're building. A quick point here, the upcoming launch of the Shimmer EVM on the Shimmer network, the staging network IOTA, will mark the launch of the first smart contract chain in the IOTA system. We will continue investing in IOTA chains to increase customizability, decentralization tooling, features, interoperability, and broader support for existing solutions. This includes supporting the ZK rollups and other ZK-based technologies in the future. So there's a nice, powerful list of information there as well. I'll leave a link to this, by the way, at the end. Again, big focus here on smart contract development, absolutely massive, and utilizing that Shimmer protocol as well. I believe Shimmer is available on certain exchanges. I know I got a load through the IOTA staking a couple of years ago, or a year or so ago. So definitely keep hold of that if you still have it in your portfolio, and you know, it's definitely of interest, and not financial advice obviously, but to really keep an eye on this. These are the building blocks of something really incredible, in my opinion. The tokenomics aspect here, probably what's more interesting to people in this video. And increasing the value of the IOTA token is also directly increases the security of the entire network, which in turn creates more demand for block space. So again, initiating that fact of evolution, the fact that this ecosystem is going to grow significantly, hopefully. And then of course that extra ability of the smart contract deployment and development on that on the 1 and 2 layers. So we'll keep an eye on that development as well. Not releasing the assembly token, I don't think we need to go into too much detail further about that. It is what it is. But I think we'll just go back to this point here. The new IOTA ecosystem fund will be funded through the vested release of new IOTA tokens created as part of the upcoming IOTA Stardust hard fork. More details below. So we mentioned about the 12% inflation per year over 4 years of just 40 odd percent. So with the new token distribution, existing holders will retain more than 60% of the total supply, with the new IOTA ecosystem funds contributors and the IOTA token airdrop to those who staked for assembly will together be less than 40%. So there's a big breakdown here, a bit of a diagram of what this is going to achieve with the distribution element of the tokenization. This helps fund the entire ecosystem. It helps the developers, the team itself as well, and us as holders not losing out too much or anything like that as well. I feel like it's gonna be really interesting next few years, and there's a bit of a demonstration here of how that circulating supply will increase over time as well. I think it's on 2 point something billion at the moment. So we own currently as holders 2.5 billion IOTA there. So that's going to increase, as they said, to that 4.6 billion. So we'll keep an eye on that. And it's really detailed here, Treasury DAO, how much they will receive, how much the ecosystem, the Tangle, the foundation, the DLT foundation, contributors, and the airdrop itself as well from the assembly tokens. It's all here. It's all in black and white. So do take note of this. The price dropped a bit over the last few days. It has jumped a bit back up in the last 24 hours. We'll go into that in a bit more detail. But again, related to these points about the foundation entering new markets and areas, very interesting indeed. But in my opinion, I think this is all great. I think this is going to further develop IOTA. It's going to give it the funding, the backing that it needs, because the way that it's tried to get resource from token launches back in the day, it's not necessarily saying it's just not sustainable or it's going to run out of money at all. It's more that we need to make sure, or IOTA need to make sure, that they have something to be building on and working with, and an ecosystem that's constantly developing over the next few years. It's now or never, in my opinion, for all these chains, these next few years, as these acts, these regulations, these laws come into play, the frameworks come into play. IOTA really has to accelerate on a pure, focused, narrow area. And I think that's what it's trying to achieve. It's going to be interesting to see this development. So that's kind of wrapping up some of the 4 key pillars of information that are coming on. There's a bit of information here about the assembly token. It's just pretty much saying that it'll be done over 2 years. There's more information coming on in the near future. So let's keep an eye out for that. We will for sure look at that. Next step, IOTA fork with Stardust update. September 29th, the native tokenization framework referred to as Stardust released on Shimmer. That was last year. It's been battle tested for release. So again, these developments are still occurring as well. And I think we'll see this pure Shimmer EVM going absolutely crazy in these coming months. It's going to be absolutely fascinating to watch that occur as well. But guys, let's think about this as well. This is the previous definitions of IOTA, their naming rights and what they're trying to achieve with those. Now it's basically called IOTA. I don't know why this didn't do this in the first place, but those small changes going on as well. So don't be too surprised if you go onto your Firefly wallet and things have changed again. This is why, and this is what they've been doing with it. So let's keep an eye on the further developments of IOTA as time goes by. But let's go into the chart of IOTA, guys, before we wrap this video up. So at the moment, current price point of around 15 cents. As I said, there was a bit of a dip down. We actually got some buy orders in from a previous video we did. We mentioned these marker points, not just because naturally we probably thought it would come down, but we used the previous data areas as well back here in 2020 to identify some key areas of accumulation that could come up, and those did come in. It's done a slight bounce up in the last 24 hours, as mentioned a moment ago, but in line with these fib levels, it's very interesting indeed that we've now come into these particular areas of interest. I do anticipate there's going to be a bit of stabilization here, but I've also still anticipating in my head that we will probably bounce back down to that maybe 14 or just under 14 cent mark again. We'll have to see if that comes into fruition, but as I said in the previous videos, the lack of data at this area would suggest this, in my opinion, and particularly back here as we saw that drop down 10th of June and more recently here on the 17th of August respectively. I do anticipate us to retest that area at some point, so keep an eye out for this. Again, it's not financial advice, it's my opinions and my thoughts on the strategy that I've implemented and done based on data and research of chart analysis and what's going on in the markets as well. So I'll leave these markers in because I'm still holding out hope for 12 cents of IOTA. I really want to start accumulating more and more of it. I've just been waiting for these lower regions finally to come in. But on the side note, guys, the RSIs at the moment on the bottom left, 14 days showing 39, 28 days showing 42. This is a good bite point for me personally. I'm just going to wait a couple of days. I did have that order come in yesterday as it dropped down towards that 15 cent mark on the nose. Just going to leave it a couple of days, see if there's any more stability in this token price point, because I do anticipate potential lower areas as well, and that's where I've got a bigger chunk of the capital waiting for IOTA to accumulate. But I'm not angry. As I said, buying yesterday at 15 cents, of course, I would love to get it lower, but in the grand scheme of things, I think IOTA's got a giant future. The price point's got a huge future as well. I think in the last video, we covered that point about, where could we get to from these current price points to the previous all-time highs, guys. It's just showing you an initiative here, 1,685% gain from this point on. It's absolutely huge. And even from that lower point of IOTA, stretching up to that next fib level, potentially in a bull cycle, taking us up potentially to around $4 minimum, 7,600% gains opportunity there. It's absolutely huge. But in the short term, as we reflect back, the performance side on the right-hand side here, down on the week, pretty much floating just about above on the month. And the rest of them are in negative as well, understandably, in the market that we're in. But it's showcasing that there's a stable point coming eventually, and these markets are going to have to make some decisions over these coming months, in my opinion. And I do believe that 2024 into 2025 will see that significant bull run. Biggest we've probably ever seen in our lifetimes, for sure, albeit crypto is still only around 15 or so years old. The point being is that there's an opportunity here, whether it's, again, not financial advice, whether it's at 15 cents or 10 cents. I like those savings when it comes to IOTA. But the point being is there's huge gain opportunity. And more importantly, the technological advancement of IOTA is absolutely phenomenal. It's got itself in the right places at the right levels of integration around the world, and I'm really truly excited to see the further development of the DAG system, what's going on with the Shimmer aspect as well, and all these changes that they made in the background. I think it's for the good. Some may argue against the inflationary aspect and the supply increasing, but at the end of the day, we need this project to survive. We need it to push forward, and I think it's been doing this because of what's to come, and we'll see that, I have no doubt, coming into fruition over the next 6-12 months. Guys, thank you so much for watching this one. We'll see you in the next IOTA video update. Take care. Bye-bye.